For John Robert Wooden and his wife Nell, this is almost the end of a long but perfect day, and one that both will remember in the years to come. For here at the Los Angeles Sports Arena on March 6, 1964, John Wooden's UCLA basketball team completed the almost impossible task of going through its entire regular season unbeaten. The team earned the title of National Collegiate Champions, and John Wooden earned the honor of Coach of the Year. This is their story as they live the final day of the perfect season. It's 7:30 a.m. as John Wooden arrives at his office on the UCLA campus. He doesn't usually get in this early, but today is special. He has spent the night with his team at a nearby Bel Air hotel. He doesn't like hotels. He just can't sleep comfortably away from home. But because he asks his team to stay in one before games, he considers it only fair that he do the same. Besides, today is special. By getting in early, he'll have a chance to answer some mail which has been piling up and to return a long list of phone calls. He isn't anxious to do this because a lot of them concern tickets, and he doesn't have any. The basketball coach is always the first to run out of tickets, especially with wife Nell, daughter Nancy, and son Jim and their families as loyal fans. The basketball season never ends for a coach. Officially, it began here at UCLA on October 15th. That was 4 months and 25 games ago, and has all led to today, and a game that will be very special. It's 7:35 when Coach Wooden finally gets seated at his desk. Assistant coach Jerry Norman will arrive later. He's still with the team. 8 a.m., a visit from football coach Bill Barnes.
Hi, Billy.
Hello, Johnny. I just wanted to drop by and wish you the best of luck tonight.
Thank you, Bill. You know, whenever we play SC, we can use all that luck we can get.
I know you've got a lot of things to do here, last-minute planning and everything, but I know that the Bruins are going to come through.
Thank you, Bill.
Best of luck to you.
Thanks a lot, Billy.
John Wooden has faced many important games in his coaching career. He did also as an All-America player at Purdue.
There have been 4 men in particular that have had more influence on me than any others and are largely responsible for my being in the teaching, coaching profession and for whatever I am. And of course, I list them in chronological order. And the first, of course, was my dad. My father is one of the finest people that anyone could possibly be. For example, he's the only person that I've ever known that I never heard, if I knew him very well, say an unkind word about anyone else. He just couldn't. If he couldn't say something nice about someone, he just wouldn't say anything. He might not say anything on certain occasions, but he wouldn't say anything unkind about anyone. That's just the type of man that my father was. Certainly, I just think that there couldn't be a finer man than my dad. Then the next person was my principal. He was also the coach. And this man was, I think, a wonderful teacher, and I think gave me some of my first great lessons that I ever had. And when I got too big for my britches, I think he gave me my first real lesson. I was in this grade school in about the 7th grade. I was the big star of their basketball team, and I was very, very much aware of it. I knew it, and he knew I knew it. And one time we had a game scheduled, and he came around the morning and said the game had been canceled. We wouldn't play that afternoon. And then later in the afternoon, he came around and said the other team was coming and we would play. And I told him that I didn't have my shoes, that I just didn't think I could play, and I expected him to have somebody dash to my home about 3/4 of a mile from the school on the farm and get my shoes and bring them back. And all he said was, well, that's too bad because we could have used you. Well, when school was out, I headed for home, made pretty good time, and got back long before the game started, and he didn't see me. And I finally got around right in front of him and told him I was there. And he said, I know you must be tired. And he played the game, and we lost. But before the game was over, I reminded him again that I was there. And I also told him that we could win if he'd put me in. And he said, I know it. But that's all he said. He didn't put me in. And I think that was one of the real first fine lessons that I had. And then my high school coach was one of the most successful coaches in the state of Indiana for many years. And I think I adopted many of his ideas. He had a lot of influence on me as a player. And then, of course, I think possibly the last one was Ward Piggy Lambert, my college coach at Purdue, a wonderful man, a great coach, I think the greatest coach of his day and one of the greatest coaches of all time. And he was a man of extremely high principles in many, many ways, and I owe him so very, very much.
It was that background as a star player at Purdue and the coaching of the great Piggy Lambert that helped develop Wooden's own coaching theories, which he employs today, especially with regard to practice, which he considers the key to developing skill in any sport.
I think that planning the practice session is one of the most important responsibilities that a coach has. And I spend a lot of time on planning the practice session. Long before our season opens, I think a lot about the season coming up and the personnel that I have and the opponents in our conference and the personnel that they have as I know them, the style of play, what I think might be our best plan of attack or strategy in our conference for that particular year. I plan the first week of practice and what we'll do each day. And then after the first day of practice, I may replan the second day of practice. And following that first week, usually I carefully plan each day of practice. On the day that we have that practice, taking into consideration what happened the day before and what's happened previously in practice. I carry a 3x5 card with me at practice. On this 3x5 card, I'll have down exactly what we're going to do. So the daily practice program is extremely important.
Another Wooden coaching belief is that you can develop close relationships with players and still have their respect. A place to work on it is at the nightly training tables.
I try to keep a fairly close relationship with the players. I want their respect, but I don't want to have to demand their respect. I'd rather, just by my natural way of handling things, gain their respect. I think that you have to have a firm discipline throughout your squad, but I believe in leading them rather than driving them. I'm not so insistent that it be my way. I want it to be the best way. Coach Wooden speaking. Yes, Al. Fine, you? Well, that certainly is a wonderful honor, Al, and I'm naturally quite pleased. I think any coach that would be selected as Coach of the Year should be tremendously proud, but you know very well that what gets any coach in that position is the boys that are playing for him on that particular year, and I certainly have had a fine group, and they've played together well. And one of the things about this particular team, of which I'm most proud, is the fact that they are a team. It isn't just a collection of individuals out there with every man for himself. It's truly a team in every sense of the word, and when you have that, it makes you pretty proud, and the other things just that happen just are things that come along. But the boys deserve all the credit. Thanks again, Al. I hope we do well. Thank you. Bye.
Athletic Director J.D. Morgan.
Well, Coach, best of luck tonight. Let's go and make it 26-0 if there's any way possible.
Thank you, Jay. We'll sure do our best.
Boy, this has been a wonderful season, and what a wonderful way to wrap it up tonight. If you can get a victory over USC, our crosstown rival, and of course we know they're going to be tough because they've been playing so much better the last couple of games.
Well, I'd like to make it 26.
Oh.
I know 3 in a row is tough, but we're out there to do our best,
Right.
and our boys are ready. And
What a great season you've had.
thank you, Jay. Sure appreciate it.
Best of luck. I'll
Thank
see
you,
you there
Jay.
soon.
Thank you, Jay.
Bye-bye, John.
Bye. See you tonight.
In his office, Coach Wooden has a sign which reads, "It's what you learn after you know it all that counts." Against Michigan, the Bruins proved they had learned plenty. It was one of the biggest victories of the year for Wooden's team for several reasons.
In our game with them, we got off to a good start, and they closed in a little bit on us before the half, but we went right out again the second half and took a commanding lead and maintained it throughout the ball game. Harry Combs, the coach from the University of Illinois, made the statement that UCLA's play against Michigan was the finest collegiate basketball that he had ever seen. I feel that we played an outstanding basketball game against him, and I know that our boys felt we played an outstanding game against them, and I believe that this made them feel that they too had real good potential and could have an outstanding year. And I'd have to say that game probably did more to instill full team confidence than any other.
Another important UCLA victory came over Stanford at Los Angeles. The conference title was up for grabs. The Indians had the great Tom Dose. The game was a thriller until 10:35 remaining in the second half. In just 2 minutes and 45 seconds, the Bruins broke it wide open by scoring 13 straight points. And here's how they did it. This is Hirsch feeding Goodrich underneath, and Goodrich makes the 2 points, though he was well covered. Now the Bruins full court press. Goodrich and Slaughter in the front line there at the end line. Slaughter knocking it out of bounds. Stanford again trying to pass it in. Hinckley does work it in. Here's what Coach Wooden feels about the pressure in games like this.
I say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And this club has shown that this year.
The Bruins very tough on the inside, keeping Stanford from getting the ball to Dose. Now on that outside shot, Hazard moves up court, directing the fast break, and misses Goodrich, working it in from the left-hand side, in and out. He was fouled in the attempt. So Goodrich steps to the free throw line. Makes good his free throws, and now the press is immediately on again. And Goodrich, quick hand, stealing the ball, feeding Slaughter, and Slaughter makes a backhand layup for the 2 points. Again the press on, but this time Stanford able to work it down the left-hand side of the court. Hinckley changing speeds there in the dribble. The Bruins have Hazard up in the front line on defense there. Goodrich switching with his men. Not the play is it's stolen by Hirsch to Hazard, directing the fast break, 3-on-1. This is Hirsch cutting and making the layup. Hazard setting it up beautifully with his pinpoint passing. Now an interception by Hazard near midcourt. Again, getting through the traffic, passing underneath to Slaughter. Slaughter makes the 2 points. Slaughter fouled in the attempt. And he makes possible a 3-point play as the Bruins here have broken the ball game wide open. Hard touch there, but it went in nonetheless. Stanford again trying to work out of it, sometimes by opposing coaches called the glue factory. An outside shot by Stanford, hurrying here, trying to get back in the ball game. They still control it, but they're shooting quickly from the outside now as the pressure definitely gets to them. Fred Slaughter taking the rebound here, and the Bruins having stretched their margin. Now moving to the front court. This is Hazard slowing down the pace. The Bruins working off a balanced court attack here. Goodrich on the outside. Intended that time for Kenny Washington, coming in from the left, but knocked away by a Stanford player. Attempt to set a double screen here on the outside doesn't work. Here's Hazard now driving into the key. He's pretty well covered as they double team him, as they do much of the time. He likes to get in a one-on-one situation. With one defender at close range, Hazard has been very effective. Works it here to Kenny Washington, heading down the lane. Now he's clearing the corner for a 22-foot jumper, and he hits it. Those games helped the Bruins become the #1 team in America. But now, another job, and they've got to do it all over again. At 3:45, Coach Wooden leaves his office for the day. He'll sneak a visit to his grandchildren and then arrive at the sports arena this evening early enough to see his freshman team play against USC. At the same time, in nearby Bel Air, All-America Walt Hazard has checked in at the hotel and is fighting pre-game nerves, an occupational hazard. But pressure and nervousness is great, and he admits it.
Actually, I felt personal pressure since the outset of the season. I've enjoyed the pressure because pressure makes you work. And if it can make you work in practice, well, that's where you make yourself, I believe, truly. When I don't get nervous, I don't think I'm ready to play. My stomach bothers me. I have real bad stomach aches before games. In fact, that's the only thing that I hate about basketball. Is the pre-game torture that I have to go through. It's not. Sometimes I don't think it's worth it.
Worth it? Well, listen to the comments on Walt Hazard from his teammates and watch.
He's the greatest. As a player, he's one of the best I've ever seen. And as a friend, there's no comparison. Just a tremendous guy.
Walt's a combination of many talents. He's a great passer. He can shoot exceptionally well. He can also rebound. He's a good team man in the fact that he does a lot of inspirational work by keeping the ball players up for the games, and the humor part too. A lot of times he's not quite serious and brings some humor into the practice. And well, you can look at some of the basketball games when he stalls the ball. Sometimes he's very serious, but other times he really does a lot of stuff that brings enjoyment. And I just think he's a combination of all these things.
He's just the greatest basketball player I ever seen. He's terrific to play with. He makes you want to play basketball. He just loves the sport. He's got a lot of desire. He likes to win. He's the greatest ball handler. And I think he'd make a terrific pro basketball player.
Roommates Hazard and Jack Hirsch have become close friends. Hirsch feels it's his duty to watch out over Hazard. Hazard calls Hirsch the most unorthodox player he has ever seen and tough to play against. But Jack also gets nervous before a game.
I think every ball player gets nervous before a game. As far as I'm concerned, I try to get myself ready for most games, and I do get nervous, but not as much as Walt or Fred or Keith. They get much more nervous than I do for a game. Yeah, I try to keep most of the guys loose. I just like to have a good time. I play my hardest out there. And I know the guys are real nervous before a game. I just try to keep them loose. It's sort of nerve-wracking, waiting to play the game. I usually sit next to Walt, and I have to console him because he's always worried about what he's going to do, how he's going to make out.
We might talk about the game, student might look at a scouting report, but I don't like to think too much beyond that. He said, well, Jack, how you doing?
Hazard explains what makes the Bruin press work.
It's a 2-2-1 press. If somebody steals the ball, if Keith steals the ball, Jack steals the ball, they look for me. And I get the ball, say, around half court, and I can see the whole floor. And I make the drive, and then we have a fast break set up. And we get the easy shot. Gale's up front because of his quick hands. Jack's in the second line because he gets such great position on there, and he can jump so high. And Fred is real tough at getting position, and he can move for a big man.
Sleep is the most important element before a game. Rest. Tonight, a very special night. That's the one thing there won't be time for. For Keith Ringo Erickson and Gale Twig Goodrich, the day's tension is broken by a lunchtime visit to the Beta Theta Pi fraternity and some kidding from the brothers. A good player can always take a good writing, and Goodrich shows exactly what he can do. He's the team's leading scorer, the top man in the conference, and only a junior. Coach Wooden, Jack Hirsch, and roommate Keith Erickson give thoughts on Goodrich.
I felt that a year ago that Goodrich had a certain outstanding traits that he wasn't making the most of, and primarily because of the fact that he lacked a little poise a year ago, and I thought that would come with experience, and I definitely expected him to be a better ball player this year. Perhaps I should say I've been a little surprised that he has scored as well as he has, but I did expect him to be a good scorer, although probably not as big a scorer as he has been.
He's a great ball player. He's a really good shooter. Exceptional. Especially under the boards. He's just amazing. He looks so small and standing there, and well, he gets in there, and I don't know. I've tried to block his shots a couple times inside, and I never done it. He always gets the ball away underneath. I don't know how he does it. There's a couple scraps in practice every now and then because he's always throwing elbows. They're pretty sharp, too. I'm in the same fraternity as he is. A real good friend of his. We room together.
I call Gale little junior Jerry West. I think he can do everything Jerry can do. He can shoot real well, and he can jump real well. I think if he puts on about 10, 15 pounds, he can make a terrific pro basketball player.
time's our exam in back 6?
I think it's next Tuesday.
What did Dr. Jan say he's going to stress on us?
I think it's just what he's been going over these last few lectures.
Let's interrupt Goodrich from studying long enough to have him explain the Bruins' fast break weapon.
Well, the key to any fast break is getting the ball off the boards. Despite the fact we're small, we can all jump pretty well, so we don't usually have too much trouble on the boards. We have a pattern where we work, but usually Hazard ends up with the ball, and when Hazard gets the ball in the middle, it's pretty tough to stop. We get two cutters, and if you're open, he's going to get you the ball. If he's covered, then he just pulls up and gives you the jump shot.
Actually, while Gail Goodrich says that Hazard is the key man, all of the Bruins pass well. That was Jack Hirsch making the basket that time. This is Hazard bringing it up court. And again, Hirsch threading his way up the middle in a fantastic individual effort. This is Erickson taking it off the boards, a long pass. And the Bruins Hazard goes in for another one. An ability to throw the long ball results in many a two-point setup for the Bruins.
I think I've had a basketball in my hand ever since I can remember. My father was an all-coast guard at USC, and he sort of brought me up to be a basketball player, I guess. But actual organized basketball I started in '83.
For Fred Slaughter, Friday, March 6th is another day to attend to duties as the UCLA senior class president, an office he enjoys, although it takes up much of the free time he really doesn't have during the basketball season. As a sophomore and junior, Slaughter was the Bruins' leading rebounder. Now he fights Keith Erickson for that honor. But even in his office, Fred Slaughter can't help but think about the coming game.
Well, I've had quite a bit of trouble relaxing. It's not a worry thing or anything like that, but I get myself personally ready for the game, and usually I have to do a lot of thinking about it because the guy is usually taller than I am, and it's something when you step in there and you're looking up at a person. And I just think about the game, get myself prepared, and time passes before you know it, you're out there. Of course, I'm always hoping that we'll win, and of course, since I can be very instrumental in our winning, I always hope that I'll go in there and not make too many mistakes.
Jack Hirsch doesn't join his teammates until 4 hours before game time at the hotel. He's married, and wife Lynn tells about how things get near a big game.
I don't think he really worries about the game until the day of the game, really. And then he can't sleep after the game. He worries after the game. No, I don't worry too much the week or the day before the game. The day of the game, I'm pretty nervous about it, though.
At 6 p.m., the Bruins leave their hotel for their final home game of 1964. Because it is their last game, they'll go by car instead of in a team bus. For Hazard, stomach cramps have started. Goodrich, always sleepy, isn't tired anymore. Time has run out. The biggest crowd of the year will see tonight's game in which USC will try and spoil the Bruin bid for a perfect season. Fans there early recognize Hazard more readily than his teammates. It's 6:45 when they arrive at the arena. The freshman game is nearly half over. It's close, but the Bruins are winning. One of the more superstitious varsity members considers it a good omen. Coach Wooden is watching the freshman game. He won't join the varsity until 7:15, when all of them are taped and dressed and ready for a final word. The team has been escorted to the arena by Ducky Drake, the team's trainer and also the Bruin track coach. Ducky watches over the club with a stern hand and is equally nervous about tonight's game with the Trojans. By 7:15, all the players will be dressed and the dressing room will become quiet. All the noise comes from outside, where the freshmen are in the final minutes of their tight battle with SC. Hazard's stomach pains are at their peak now. All are aware that tonight's game is a very special one. When that door opens, they have to be ready. At 7:30 exactly, the Bruins emerge from their dressing room. They take it slow as the Trojans are just ahead of them, and the final words from Coach Wooden still can be heard.
My primary remarks were not in regard to the technical aspects of the game or the game plan, but in regard to what I expected of them, how proud I was of them for the season that they've had, and that I would be just as proud at the close of this game, whether we won or lost, and I wanted them to conduct themselves in a manner befitting of a champion, regardless of the outcome of this game. That if we won, their heads shouldn't be any higher than I expected to see their heads if we lost. And I was immensely proud of them, and they had every right. They'd earned the right to be proud themselves, and I didn't want them to dare do anything that might tarnish that in any way.
3 minutes later, Coach Wooden comes out of the dressing room. In 16 years as coach of the Bruins, his teams have won 310 games. Prior to that, he was one of the most successful coaches in high school history, compiling a record of 218 wins against only 42 defeats. Coach Wooden carries more than a winning record with him on court, as Walt Hazard testifies.
I can say without a doubt that John Wooden is probably the greatest coach in college basketball today. And as time goes on, he'll probably become the greatest in history. He's really a fine coach and a fine person. And these are two things that very seldom go hand in hand. Coach Wooden, because of the way he lives, and because of the fact that he practices what he preaches, can do nothing more than command respect from his ball players. He doesn't demand it. He just gets it.
The moment before the battle. Now the coach has some thoughts about his players.
Hazard had certain outstanding qualities, and he has shown those, but he has improved in his shooting this year, which has helped him. I've used at times just by the look that our offensive leader, Walt Hazard, will get on his face at times when perhaps he's criticized or corrected and things that didn't seem to be going right. Slaughter of center has been a little bit in and out, but his history is that, and so I'm not surprised. Hirsch I knew was a fine ball player at both ends of the court, and I couldn't say that his play this year has surprised me. I've been pleased with it, but not surprised. And Hirsch, of course, is a one of a kind, and you know where Jack stands all the time. He's not a boy that will tell you one thing and tell somebody else something else. He may not agree with you at all, but the thing that I like about him is that he tells me he doesn't agree instead of talking behind my back to somebody else. I don't like that type, but the clubhouse lawyer type at all, and Jack Hirsch certainly isn't that.
There's a familiar-looking fella with a final good luck wish from the Bruin broadcaster.
Bob Kelly, well-known sportscaster, recommended me to UCLA, and they in turn contacted me, and Bob wrote me at the time. I had known him when he was broadcasting high school athletics at Elkhart, Indiana. Bob really got started there in Elkhart. I debated between taking a job at one of the Big Ten schools or coming to UCLA, and I decided that I would take the Big Ten school if they'd make one concession that they didn't want to make at first. About an hour after I had accepted UCLA, I was told that they missed out by about an hour, and I decided to come to UCLA. And certainly, and I'm sure my wife and family have never regretted that decision to come out here.
I did call Wilbur John. Wilbur remembered Johnny as being a great basketball star at Purdue, and I'd followed him to Martinsville High School as a player at Purdue, but he didn't know he was coaching. Because I was back when he was coaching at South Bend Central at Indiana State Teachers College at Terre Haute. He said, well, have John get hold of me at the coaches' meeting at the Roosevelt Hotel in New York. They got together, and eventually John sold himself. Let me say, I introduced Wooden to UCLA. I'm mighty proud that I did.
Here's the center jump, UCLA in the blue. The tip goes to Jack Hurst. The Bruins quickly jump to a 5-0 lead. This on a hazard free throw, a layup by Hirsch, and then a 15-foot jump shot by Big Fred Slaughter, their center. This is Erickson. And there's Slaughter's jumper. 3 minutes of the game actually elapsed before Doug Balcom was able to break the scoring ice for the battling Trojans. Played a possession game. The Bruins hold their lead at 7-2, 9-4, 15-6, and 25-17, midway through the first half. It was tough defense all the way on the part of both Trojans and Bruins in this, the bitter crosstown rivalry. This is the full court press in action. It worked. Hazard making the shot there that didn't quite go in. And now the Trojans make a run at the Bruins. They outscore the Bruins 12-4, close the gap to a single point, 34-33, with 2:21 remaining in the half. It's a tense moment on the Bruin bench. But as the Bruins had done in so many other games in the season, when the going got rough, the team answered the challenge. As the coaches looked on, Goodrich hit 2 pressure free throws. Keith Erickson hit another jump shot. Goodrich added 2 more free throws. Hazard hit on a jumper. And then Doug McIntosh, playing in place of Slaughter, hit another basket. And UCLA had made 10 points in a row, taking an 11-point lead with 57 seconds in the half. Big John Blatt, 6'10" center for Troy, taking the rebound there. He had a fine game. Gary Sutherland moving it up court. Foul call in a tense moment. And here's Gail Goodrich shooting an important UCLA free throw. Again, you see that full court press in action. The Trojans handled it quite well. McIntosh with a key rebound there. Hazard bringing it up court. The Wooden family enjoying the action. Halftime, SC have narrowed it to 44-35 at the buzzer. A great performance by Erickson, who led his team in scoring with 12 points, hitting 6 of 11, filling the gap until Goodrich and Hazard could unload their scoring guns. Bring a 9-point lead out to start the second half before the largest crowd ever to see this crosstown rivalry. 14,560 fans. Mrs. Wooden has gone to meet her husband to wish him luck for the second half. In all the years that John has been coaching, Nell Wooden has missed only 2 or 3 of his home games. Here's the Wooden family. Daughter Nell and Mrs. Ducky Drake there. Now the second half action starts. The Trojans in white here picking up the pace almost immediately. They scored 9 consecutive points to narrow the Bruin lead to just 3 points with 11:06 to go. 62-59. The Trojans charging. The Goodrich family knows it too. And Coach Wooden knows it. As he calls time, we take you into the huddle to hear what he actually told his team.
Got upset because you're missing free throws and you're trying to throw in field goals, whether you have a shot or not. You're forcing it. You're going to get the shots if you'll have a little patience. Certainly can. But you can't force it and do it all the time. You got to pass and cut in there. Jack and Fred. Jack back in for Doug. Back in for Kenny. Hurry up. Come on, Fred. Play some ball. Okay, let's set something up. Try the center deep. Get a good shot.
The Trojans Trojans keep coming. Catch the Bruins with 9 minutes and 37 to go. It's 63-63. And as the tension mounts, a coach reacts and lets his team know he's in the game all the way.
Ted Curtis, Joe, you saw him double dribble down there. You raise this place alive. Everybody in the place saw that.
I don't believe that I get quite as nervous as many of my fellow coaches. I don't mean that I'm not excited. I am. But I don't feel that I get nervous to the point where I'm afraid to watch the game and I get so worried that I don't have my wits about me. I think part of my duty, obligation to the players to try to keep as much self-control and mental poise about me at all times if I expect them to on the floor. And yet I want them to know that I'm with them 100%. I want them to know that I'm in the game. And frankly, I yell at officials a lot of the time for the effect that it has on my players. Not the effect that it has on the officials or anyone else, but for my players. I want them to know that I'm right in the game with them the best I can. I prefer that my players never yell at the officials, but when you get high-strung, spirited players, they're going to do it some. You know that. And we're all highly partisan. We have to be. It's just natural in the game of basketball, the way the play goes, the types of decisions that have to be made, that it's hard to come to complete agreement on the call. And I want our players to know that I'm with them, and I hope that by example I can make them keep fighting and really fight harder all the time.
With 5:43 to go, the Trojans are still very much in the game, trailing 69-71. And once again, Keith Erickson responds. He gets 5 of UCLA's next 6 points and some instructions from an anxious bench.
You have 3 on you. Don't get another one. Up tighter, Keith.
Erickson's surge moves the Bruins ahead 77-71. The Trojans get one of the baskets back but can't make up the difference. With 2 minutes to go, the Bruin lead has climbed to 83-75, and time continues to run out, much to the delight of an interested Bruin director of athletics, J.D. Morgan, who is an excited fan in the stands. Now Jack Hirsch is called out. His final home appearance for the Bruins, he scored 12 points. And an ovation for Walt Hazard, who ends his Bruin career before the home fans, and they'll be talking about the job he did for seasons to come. Greatest scorer in school history. He got 22 points tonight in his team's great victory. It's near the end now. Lynn Hirsch, Jack's wife, still whooping it up for her team. It's almost over. The Bruins now just 2 seconds away from their 26th victory of the season. They're the first unbeaten team in UCLA's history, have preserved their ranking as the #1 college basketball team in America. An ovation for Keith Erickson, who also has a great night. He'll be back next year along with Gail Goodrich. He went out with 21 points in one of the outstanding games of his career. And some late second rest for Gail Goodrich, who scored 23, turned in another outstanding performance. Great year for the Twig, who weighs now less than 160, barely hit 6'1". It's all over. The Bruins have defeated USC 91-81 to complete a perfect regular season.
I suppose at the beginning of any season, you're hoping that you might possibly go through undefeated, but you can't realistically expect to. When you go as far as we've gone, I'd say that you'd have to be surprised.
At 10:14, 12 hours and 34 minutes after this day began on the UCLA campus, it's almost over for John Wooden and his Wonder Workers.
I never really thought that I would ever be first team All-American. Play on a team that's number one in the nation. Never even dreamed that would happen to me. I wanted to go to college to play ball, enjoy myself playing, and get my education. Things have really turned out to something that's even beyond my greatest hope. It took a lot of hard work to get here, though. It's going to take a lot of hard work to stay here.
And for the Bruins, there was more to do, and the road ahead was to be tougher, just as their coach had told them it would be. Next stop, Gill Coliseum, Corvallis, Oregon, and the opening round of the Far West Regionals against very tough Seattle University. With a little more than 8 minutes remaining to play, the unbeaten Bruins have lost their leader, trailing the Chiefs 75-73 when they get even once again. The Bruins in action. Set up for Freddie Slaughter, and he ties it up at 75 all with 6:41 remaining. Free throw missed here by the Bruins, but they regain control. Long outside shot also is no good. Slaughter turns around, jump shot, hits in, and the Bruins are back on top, 77-75. Seattle with a great scrub that the Bruins really feared. Come back strong once again. They work their way out of the full court press. Presman, number 31, their outstanding star. Outside jump shot is no good. Seattle controlling, manages the tip in, and it's even again at 77 all. Bruins get right back up court, miss 2 shots. Underneath, it's Kenny Washington putting it in and fouled in the act of shooting. Misses the free throw, but the Bruins lead by 2, 79-77. The Racehorse Seattle crew, coached by Bob Boyd, comes back strong. An outside shot by Charlie Williams is no good. Getting it in the corner, Williams puts it away. And the ball game is tied up again at 79 all. Interception here by the Seattle club from the Bruins. And here's a drive in. It's missed. A follow shot is missed, but there's a foul. But the foul is offensive, and the Bruins, Walt Hazard, puts the Bruins back on top, 81-79. And Seattle working it up court has another opportunity. Corner shot, Presman. It's in and out, no good, and Fred Slaughter battles for the rebound, gets it. Bruins break up court. Gail Goodrich spearheading the attack here. Outside shot, Kenny Washington is no good. And again, Seattle, but the Bruins battling all the way. Kenny Washington commits this one. Presman makes the first, now can tie it up, but doesn't. And the rebound goes to the Bruins. Fred Slaughter sending it down court. Here's Goodrich. Passing underneath. Kenny Washington makes it and is fouled. The sophomore came through in a big way. His free throw makes it 84-80. And now the interception by Goodrich makes it 86-80, and the Bruins won this one by a final score of 90-84. The next night wrapped it up against USF, winning it 76-72 to go on to Kansas City and the semifinals. In the NC2A semifinals at Kansas City, the Kansas State Wildcats jumped to a 75-70 lead over the Bruins with 6 minutes and 26 seconds left to play. Again, it looked like the Bruins streak might be coming to a close. This is Gail Goodrich bringing it up court now, trying to set up a Bruin play. To Erickson in the corner, a jumper by McIntosh, and there's a foul call. The Bruins were working against a 1-3-1 zone until very late in the ball game. McIntosh shooting. Makes the first of his 2 free throws to narrow the margin to 4. Second, however, doesn't go in, and Willie Morrell gets the ball for Kansas State. And the Wildcats still maintain a 4-point lead. That jumper by Simons is no good, and McIntosh takes the rebound for UCLA. Hazard going into action here. Hazard fouled on the 15-foot jump shot, and he'll shoot 2. First drops in. margin cut to 3. Now it's cut to 2, but Kansas State still has the ball, and time is still against the Bruins. Working out of the press with a long pass to get into front court. The sophomore Gary Williams here, another of the tall boys for Kansas State, who had 7-footer Roger Suttner at center. K-State working it around to take only the good shot. 3-second violation called, and that gave the Bruins the ball and a chance to tie it up. Gail Goodrich working it to Kenny Washington. Into the corner. Here's a drive by McIntosh, setting up Erickson with a basket that tied it up. 75 all now, and the Bruin full court presses on. Timeout was called, but they come right back with the press. Coach Tex Winter, who had that lucky brown suit for 13 straight ball games, was squirming on the bench at this stage. Kenny Washington hustling defense there, pressing all over Simons. There's the big fellow, Roger Suttner, with a left-handed hook shot that's no good. A battle for the rebound. Willie Morrell tries to shove it up, no good again. Another Kansas State shot, no good, and then the Bruins get the ball. McIntosh clear to Goodrich, and the Bruins break up court. Pass underneath, and the foul. And the Bruins now have a chance to go on top on the foul shots. Erickson makes the first good. He had a 28-point night, high of his entire career. 2 free throws that put the Bruins on top, 77-75. Again, the press bothering the Wildcats. They get it into front court. Morrell setting up a teammate for a corner shot that's no good, and the Bruins again get the rebound. Hustle up court. Here's a beautiful fake and a basket by Gail Goodrich. The Bruins are now on top by 4. An offensive foul called, and the Bruins get the ball out of bounds. This on the press there. Goodrich really applying it. Bruins with another opportunity and a 4-point lead now. Play a little keep away, making Kansas State foul them to get the ball or working for the good shot only. The Bruins with the upper hand. Bruins managed to pass the ball around well. Hazard passing off here. Back outside once more to Erickson. Bruins deploying themselves well here and doing a good job of running out the clock, though there was still plenty of time left for Kansas State. Beautiful job of ball handling, tremendous poise, which really impressed the coaches who were on hand for the coaches' convention. This is frustrating to anything but a home crowd watching their home team perform it. Hazard putting on the exhibition here. Finally, he's double teamed, and somebody draws the foul. Hazard, Conley drops in the first, and the second to make it 81-75. The Bruins by 6. Hazard continues to put on a show. The Bruins continue to work their keep-away tactics and work only for the good shot. Hazard, with the score 83-80, put in the jumper there to get the Bruins out by 85-80. Kansas State coming back, continuing to keep in the ball game, and they had the height to get those rebounds. But the Bruins battled in there all the way, and there's a jump ball, one of the few in the ball game. Bruins controlling that one. Here's Hazard bottled up back here, getting clear to Kenny Washington. It's late in the ball game now. And there's a big basket by Keith Erickson. Beautiful pass by Hazard. Length of the court, 87-80 with 2:20 to go, and the Bruins win it. Number 30, the final game against Duke. Favored in this one against the unbeaten Bruins. And Duke led by a score of 30-27 with 7 minutes and 7 seconds left to halftime. And all the coaches and all the experts knew that Duke was going to win. Gail Goodrich breaks up court and sets the pace for the Bruins comeback, hitting a 15-footer first of all. Now it's narrowed to a point. The full court press on. Duke handled it fairly well. But it was the way their big men were handled defensively that helped. This is Jeff Mullins, Duke's great star, missing that shot from the outside. Out to Hazard. Hazard's up court in a hurry, setting up his play, cutting underneath and somehow getting that shot up there, but drawing the foul The Bruins, Keith Erickson shooting here. He ties it up and puts the Bruins on top, and they were never again headed. But this amazing 16 points in a row continues here now. Double team. Mullins misses the free throw. Nothing went right for Duke at this stage, and everything went right for the Bruins. Their blitz attack continues. They're ahead now by a point. Shot by Gail Goodrich goes in from the corner, and they're up by 3. The press is on. Duke shot blocked there, knocked out of bounds, and a Duke man touched it last. The Bruins get control again. Underneath, here's Goodrich trying to get the shot up. Somehow he does. Out it comes to Duke. The shot was missed. And on that one, the Duke man elbowing fouled Kenny Washington coming from behind. And an unusual call, but the Bruins got the basketball out of bounds. Hazard here. Turns around, takes a jump shot that's no good. Out it comes to Walt once more. Somehow he threaded it through there and got it to Hirsch, who put it in. The Bruins' incredible pace continues. Duke kept calling timeouts. Double team back here on the full court press. They work out of trouble here, get it in the front court. That's Hirsch down on the court, stealing the ball. And the Bruins have it once more. This is Kenny Washington. His shot was blocked, but it was called goaltending. One of the 6'10" Duke men, Tyson, called for goaltending. The basket good. Duke up court again, trying to shoot in a hurry to get back against the surging Bruins. Missed. Up court it comes from Hirsch to Hazard. Fed to Kenny Washington, getting up there for another jump shot as the magnificent sophomore hit 26, his all-time high in this game. The blitz toward a 16-point total is on here. This is Tyson, their junior, getting in and missing, blowing a shot incredibly as Duke could do nothing right. Completely befuddled by the Bruins' fast break. By their full court press, the shot by Goodrich goes in the incredible space of 2 minutes and 33 seconds, the Bruins, with another timeout called here by Duke, led at this stage 41-30. They were to extend it 2 points more before the blitz was over. Here's the interception by Hazard underneath, and Gail Goodrich was fouled this time. Gail makes the 2 free throws to make it 43-30 as UCLA rang up 16 straight points in 2 minutes and 33 seconds. They rang up a 50-38 halftime lead. They won the ball game going away by a final margin of 98-83 with an all-time high for Kenny Washington, 26, and Gail Goodrich scoring 27 to lead the way. The Bruins had won when the experts at Kansas City didn't figure that they could do it. Walt Hazard again goes through the cutting down ceremony. The Bruin Rooters point up that number 1. We're number 1. The Bruins have won 30 straight. The final touch to the perfect season. A wonderful welcome home despite a rainy Sunday afternoon at Los Angeles International Airport. As the Bruin party arrived, there were some 2,000 rooters on hand at Continental Airlines. We'll meet some of the Bruins as they came off the plane bearing the championship trophy. The famed Bruin air horn there. Symbol of UCLA football and basketball when they permit it inside. Here's Walt Hazard bearing the championship plaque. Next to him, that's Chuck Darrow, following Jack Hirsch. Walt is awed by this reception. Jack followed by Wyflin, Fred Slaughter, Rich Levin, Nell Wooden, Coach John Wooden, Vice Chancellor Chuck Young, Dennis Mnuchin, one of the team managers.
Thank you very much. I think the Bruins did a beautiful job. I'm really proud of my ball club.
How did it feel? How did it feel when the final game was over?
It was beautiful. It was really frustrating for the last 6 minutes because I fouled out with 6 minutes left in the ball game, and I really felt helpless.
That was the first time this year.
First time this season.
What are your plans now? What did you think of the performances? They can't say that you're not number 1 now.
I don't see how they could. However, I'm no more proud of them than I back has increased my pride in them. Pretty wonderful, though.
You showed the whole country in that last game exactly what the Bruins can do. You must have been very proud of them in that one.
Yes, I certainly was, and particularly pleased the way our two sophomores, Doug McIntosh and Kenny Washington, came in, and the great job they did. But once again, it was the whole team. There wasn't any one or two individuals.
What did you think of the performance by the Bruins now?
I think they're a wonderful, wonderful team and a wonderful coach. And a wonderful assistant coach.
Wonderful team.
That was producer Bob Speck with the Woodens, and here the Wooden family seen with the grandchildren. Yes, this is a big day for the Woodens and the Wooden family, and for all UCLA fans everywhere.
I truly believe that the boys on this basketball team have taken to heart the meaning of a poem that I've given them. The poem goes something like this. Remember this your lifetime through. Tomorrow there'll be more to do. And failure waits with all who stay, with some success made yesterday. Tomorrow you must try once more, and even harder than before. While this is a tribute to a coach, it certainly is also a tribute to a great group of basketball players whom you've seen, and you've met a number of them, and we're going to have you meet them again, because now they can bask in the fruits of their glory and in the fruits of the season. First of all, on my left, we have Gail Goodrich, who is a junior guard from North Hollywood, played for Poly High, was the Bruins' leading scorer this season, was named to the all-tournament team at Kansas City. Next to him, another Valleyite, Jack Hirsch from Van Nuys, who was Co-City Player of the Year a few years back, and Jack laid out 1 year due to an injury, then spent the last 2 seasons with the Bruins, and has been a great clutch performer, and their third leading scorer. Okay, Jack, I won't embarrass you too much. Next to him, we have Big Fred Slaughter, 6'5", from Topeka, Kansas, and incidentally, Fred was a 9'9" sprinter back there. One of the reasons that the full-court press worked so well, and he was a starter in just about every Bruin game for 3 varsity seasons from his sophomore season on, and, well, he's been in 3 tournaments now and in the finals twice, and that's quite a record. And a lot of the Bruins' success revolved around him, and in the finals, it also revolved around the young man next to him, a sophomore from Beaufort, South Carolina, who, playing his first varsity year with the Bruins, really came on strong at the end, and Kenny had such a great game in Kansas City, particularly against Duke, the winning night, his career high of 26, and we're looking for more from Kenny the next 2 seasons. Alongside of him, we have another sophomore, and this is Doug McIntosh, the 6'6" boy from Lilly, Kentucky, now of Temple City, California.
And Doug, I don't think it was anything more than a big surprise this season, and he certainly surprised his coaches and the fans, and really did a tremendous job backing up Fred Slaughter. Had 4 great tournament games. Next to him, Keith Erickson, who suddenly blossomed into a scorer after being rated as a defensive player. Keith is from El Segundo, and he blossomed forth with 21 points against Washington when the Bruins really needed them. Another 21 against USC and 28 against Kansas State, and I think that was a surprise to the Wildcats. Now the end man. He's sometimes a humorist, and maybe we should make an end man out of him, but Walt Hazard has been the Bruins' outstanding player. He was voted the outstanding player in the tournament and quite a few All-America teams, and I don't need to say too much more than Walt is 6'2". He's from Overbrook High School in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we're going to have him talk in just a little bit while, and maybe he'll tell the truth about some of these fellows we have sitting here. Walt, well, I've got you over there right now. You've had 3 great years with the Bruins. There are so many outstanding games that you can recall. Is there any one that you think of in particular?
Well, I'm not going to speak personally. I just think that the most satisfying game was the championship game against Duke.
Well, no question about that. There was a funny thing happened to you, though, en route to that championship. You fouled out of a ball game. I couldn't remember that happening before, did it?
Well, it happened last year at Stanford.
Oh, yes, that's right.
In overtime.
Mm-hmm. That was the only other time.
That was the only other time.
Yeah, and these were for offensive fouls.
4 of them.
That's quite a collection. Incidentally, Keith Erickson sitting next to him over there. Keith, what did you think about Walt's play in the tournament? Did you think he was up to par or a little below par?
Oh, he definitely wasn't below. He had a great tournament.
Incidentally, speaking of you, Keith, that 28 points must have been kind of satisfying. I heard fellows say that, well, that Erickson, he couldn't hit 28 points if you locked him in the gym for an hour all by himself.
That must have been Wooden talking about.
What do you think happened to Keith?
Just think he developed more confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get that confidence, it's really tough to tell yourself that you can't shoot. And he had told himself for a long time that he couldn't shoot.
Well, how about the desire that the fellow next to Keith Erickson over there, Doug McIntosh, showed in the championship ball games? He must have had a little bit going for him there, too.
Yeah, well, I think that Doug and Kenny Washington have really shown more improvement over the span of 2 years than any 2 ball players I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's quite a tribute to them and to Coach Wooden for really working hard.
Well, let's go over to Doug for just a moment. And Kenny, we got him right in the middle over there. Incidentally, Doug, you fellows room together on the road, you and Kenny, don't you?
That's right.
What's your roommate like?
Oh, he's a very agreeable sort.
Mm-hmm.
We get along okay.
He's been a kind of a shy guy. I've gotten to know him pretty well here this past season. Is he as shy as he was?
Oh, not at all. I wouldn't say so at all. He's gained a lot of confidence in UCLA.
Kenny, what game do you think you really picked up your confidence in this season?
Well, that's really difficult to say. Well, I've always thought that I could play varsity ball, but it was just a matter of my shooting, which was very erratic. I mean, maybe I'd shoot well in one game and then maybe have a span about 10 games and then shoot again. But it was probably in the Michigan game that I really gained my confidence, and then with Coach Wooden working with me constantly, daily.
You had a pretty good ball game there against Duke. You shouldn't have any lack of confidence in your shooting after that one.
Well, I think I was a little lucky in that ball game. I got quite a few layups and tips and all that.
Big Fred's had so many ball games I remember so well, but I always like to kid him about a day he had against Northwestern University, and I think this was a year ago, because I remember his outside shooting so well that day. He hit 10 for 12. And I asked him after the ball game, I said, Fred, where'd you develop that shot? And he said, I've always had it. They just didn't let me use it. Seriously speaking, though, you can hit from the outside, Fred.
Well, I think I can. I've always thought that I could, but another tribute to Coach, I found that I want to serve the team, or I wanted to, in any manner that would be positive, and this effect would be my rebounding and screening and so forth and so on. Of course, I had a problem of trying to control my desire to shoot, but then again, as long as we're winning, I'm willing to give up anything, and we were winning, and it really made me no difference who scored, just so we came out on top.
When I think of Jack Hirsch, I shall think of him scrambling against those big guys. And I'll remember some of those loose balls that you would get down there, and you got some in some of these key playoff games, too, and they were big ones. Remember you on the floor drawing a foul, too.
Well, I got some scars on my knees to prove that I've been on the floor, and I've got to scramble because I'm not as big and strong as most of the ball players that I do play against. But I'm out there trying my best and hustling as good as I can.
Well, Jack, the other Valleyite here, Gail Goodrich, next to you, isn't strong and big either. What are you actually now? Some people say, well, he's only really 5'10", but you are over 6 feet, aren't you, Gail?
Yes, I'm 6'1".
6'1". What did your weight drop down to after that final championship game?
Well, it got down to about 155.
155?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think you'll play at next year?
Well, I'd like to play at 170, but I don't know if I can. I have trouble putting on weight.
Incidentally, both you and Keith Erickson will be back next year, so we'll, of course, McIntosh and Washington, we're going to lose 3 of these fine 7 right here by graduation, but do you think that you might become the Walt Hazzard of the team next year, the playmaker?
Well, I think I'll become the playmaker. I don't think I'll become the Walt Hazzard of the team. Walt's just too much to try to fill, one's shoes. He's really a great ball player, and if I could be just as fast the playmaker he is, I think I'd be doing all right.
Well, thank you very much, man. You've given us a season we'll never forget.
Wooden's Wonder, show number 2, scene 3, take 1.
But now let's visit again with Coach Johnny Wooden and assistant coach Jerry Norman. First of all, John, I know all the honors that your team has received since winning the championship, and the accolades right here in Los Angeles certainly must be gratifying to you.
Indeed it is, Fred, and we sincerely appreciate the way that we've been received after coming back from Kansas City. The fact that the people of Los Angeles seem to be so proud of the boys is very gratifying to me as their coach, and I know they can't be quite as proud of them as I am, but it's mighty nice to see the interest.
You had a development of 2 players, and you pinpointed this, as I remember, at Kansas City when we arrived at the press conference. We arrived in a police car, as a matter of fact, because the Bruin plane was late, and you said at the time, if I'm ever going to ride in a squad car, I'm glad this is the way it's being done, because they escorted you over to that press conference. But you said that the improvement of your 2 sophomores was the big improvement of your ball club. That certainly was borne out in those 2 games at Kansas City.
Yes, and I'm very, very proud of the way that they came along this year and they accepted the role. Every boy likes to start. There's no question about it, and I wouldn't want a player that didn't want to start. If he doesn't want to start, why, he doesn't have the ambition to become a better ball player. But these 2 boys improved steadily throughout the year, and I don't believe that I've ever had two boys on the same team that improved as much as they have during the year. And certainly we needed it. Their play in the tournament, both at Corvallis and at Kansas City, was instrumental for the fact that you're having us here for this program right now. There's no question about it. And I believe all our players feel that way, and that was one of the fine things about this team. I believe that one of the finest compliments that we had all year long was made by the Yugoslav coach, Alexander Nikolic, who was out here with us a week, and when asked which team that he had seen in the United States that he liked the best, and he had seen some 50 games and many, many teams, and some of the finest teams, and he said, this is the team, UCLA, because is team, he said, is team, and he held up 5 fingers to indicate that they were a unit. And of all the things about this team that has pleased me the most, it's the fact that it is one of the most unselfish teams that it's possible to have. That and the way they met each challenge with poise and courage, that has given me just as much pleasure as the fact that they won all their games. And I rather feel it's the reason that they won all their games too, Fred.
Right. Incidentally, Jerry, was there a moment in those 4 playoff games, particularly in the Seattle game, I know you'd scouted them in advance, that you thought that this is the one we're finally going to lose?
Well, we were very concerned the fact that everybody down here was talking about our playing Oregon State at Oregon State, and then having Oregon State lose the game to Seattle. We were afraid that maybe the boys might think, well, Seattle is not going to be that difficult to beat, and overlook them a little bit. And because of their style of play, being very similar to us, they have excellent speed, very quick, good jumpers, that they might actually pose more of a problem for us than a team like Oregon State. And I still feel that if it had not been for the fact that we were going to have to play Oregon State on their home floor, had they beat Seattle, that we would be much better off playing a team like Oregon State. I think our personnel is much better suited to play theirs than it would be, say, against Seattle. So we were very concerned about the game, and it turned out to be rightfully a correct analysis.
We expect to have a pretty good ball club next year, but we're going to miss Walter and Fred and Jack and the other seniors that will be gone.
John, thank you so much, and we'll be looking forward to next year. Believe me, Jerry Norman, it's been a real great year, and I don't know what the Bruins can do to top this, but maybe somehow, with Coach Wooden and Coach Norman at the helm, they'll find the way.